This tutorial is about using the really cool blur gallery that's been added to CS6. So some photos, if you take a look at this one for example, have a very sharp area of focus, and then it's called depth of field when there is blurriness outside of that area of focus. In the photography world, there's a whole explanation about how you set that up with your f-stops. We're not really concerned about that. Mostly what we want to do is fake that technique or fake that effect. So on the old building file that you have, you can see everything is very sharply in focus. There is nothing that is blurred or out of focus, and we want to create some attention on one particular area by having it be the only thing in focus. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new layer by Command J. Remember, we usually want to keep our original that we can go back to if we need to. And then go to Filter, choose Blur, and let's start with Iris Blur. When you set up this gallery, it's going to have a GUI that essentially lets you control all the settings. There's also some controls over here on the side and up on the top, but we're going to really focus on what this GUI has to offer. So you can see here in the center is where it's sharply in focus, and outside of this ring it is completely blurred, and then there's a transition area between these little white dots and this outside little white dot. We can change the parameters of any of this, so I can drag to create focus. So let's say I want this window to be the focus, and I'd like there to be a little bit more of this picture that is at least, if not in focus, at least not as blurred. So I'm clicking and dragging on these outside points to change them, and then I can even click and drag on these inside white points to change the transition so that transition from sharp to blurred is not as abrupt, so that this one window is really the only thing in focus. I can also, if this is way too much blur, click here in the center and click and rotate, and that will change. I actually like to do this bit over here because I can never remember if I'm rotating to the left or to the right. Maybe lower that a little bit so it's not so wildly out of focus. Once you're all done, you can either hit enter to finalize it or click OK, and it'll think for a second or two or longer if your picture is bigger, and then apply that effect. So here on this one is the blur layer, so I'm going to name it blur. You can hide and reveal that layer. We're also going to cover a blend mode trick on this one to bring some more focus in, but it'll be the lighting effect tutorial. So if you want to check that out, go on to the lighting effect tutorial.